and I'm going to complete day 8 of West Boss JavaScript 30. And today's activity is to create this really cool little art feature here. As I press down on the mouse, I'm going to draw a line. As I hold the mouse down, that line is going to change color, and it's also going to change size. Today's activity is entirely done with JavaScript. The HTML is just one tag. It's this canvas tag, and the CSS is almost nothing. I'm going to grab the canvas tag. I'm going to create an instance of context onto that canvas tag, and that'll provide me a platform to actually draw. Then I'm going to bind the height and width of that canvas to the size of the window itself, and provide a couple of starting variables here, line join and line cap. What is the line going to look like when it joins with another line, and what is the line going to look like at its end? So by using round, it's what gave that line a nice little circular feature. IsDrawing is an expression I'm going to use to control whether or not I actually draw on the page. Last X and last Y are going to be endpoints for my line, and the values are going to be continually updated as I move the mouse. Hue is going to control the color of the line. That number is going to increase as I hold the mouse until it hits 360, and then it'll reset to 0. When using HSL, the CSS, 0 to 360 covers every color in the rainbow. Direction is going to be a boolean that I use to determine the width of the line. Once the line reaches 100 pixels, I'm going to change the value of direction, and then the line is going to decrease in size until I hit 1 pixel, and then the value of direction will change again and the line will start to increase. Let's start writing the function. So the first thing I want to happen is if that IsDrawing is evaluated to false, I don't want anything to happen. I just want to return, and that'll end the function. This is a good time to look at a couple of event listeners. So when the mouse is pressed down, I'm going to change the value of IsDrawing to true, and then I'm going to update the endpoints. So by changing the value to true, that is what's going to trigger the rest of this function. When I lift my hand off of the mouse, the value is going to evaluate back to false, and that way anytime the mouse moves, mouse move, by the way, is what's going to trigger the draw function. I'm only going to actually draw on the page when I've clicked down on the mouse. What does the rest of the function look like? Well, I'm going to provide context with the color of the line using stroke style. And I want that to update continuously, so I'm going to use backticks, HSL, and what is that going to take? It's going to take whatever the value of hue is, and then it's also going to do 100% and 50%. 100% represents saturation, 50% represents light, and then I'm going to increment the value of hue as long as my finger is pressing down on the mouse. Now I don't always want it to increment, so I'm going to set this little conditional here, where if hue is greater than or equal to 360, then now hue is going to equal 0. Cool, so I've got the color set, and now I actually need to draw the line. I'm going to do that with 4 methods here. The first one is begin path. Then I'm going to provide 2 sets of endpoints. First one is move to, and I'm going to use whatever the value of last X and last Y are. Then I'm going to use line to, and that's going to be wherever the offset is. E offsets Y. And then context dot stroke. And with those 4 methods, I'm actually going to be able to draw a line on the screen. So we are mostly there, but we can't change the width of the line. Let's make sure I've got this where I want it so far. See, this is a good point. So I haven't actually updated those endpoints yet, and that's why you have this cool little prism effect. The endpoints are constantly being set back to 0, 0. So let's go ahead and change that. And where do I want to do that? We'll do it right after we draw the line. So I'm going to destructure. I'm going to say last x and last y. Oh, I can't type today. Last y is equal to e.offset x and e.offset y, and that needs to be in an array because we are destructuring. All right, where does that get us? Not quite there yet, so my endpoints look a little strange. Round, round. Trying to see where things look amiss here. Is drawing x plus y. Oh, e offset x or e offset y and e offset x. That's not gonna work. All right, there we go. Cool. So you can notice the line is changing colors, but it's not changing size. So I've got a couple of more conditionals here I gotta write, and then we'll be all wrapped up for today. All right, so I'm gonna provide a couple of endpoints. So context dot line width. If that is, what, greater than or equal to 100, you can choose whatever value you want. 100 is big enough for me. So context, oh, not that. Context dot line width is less than or equal to 1. Then we're going to take direction and just toggle it. So whatever direction was, make it the next thing. So if the line is bigger than 100, then change direction to false. Or if the line is less than or equal to 1, change direction to true. So what's going to happen if it's true? Well, if direction, then I want context dot line width. I want it to increase. I want it to get bigger. And if it's not true, then I want context dot line width to get smaller. And let's see if that had the intended effect. The first time I recorded this, I had some debugging issues here that I couldn't do. So it gets bigger and it gets smaller. It gets bigger and it gets smaller. And that's kind of a groovy little exercise for today. Thank you. Goodbye.